Right,
Hey, Matt.
Oh, Matt's there. Good morning,
Yep.
Matt.
Good morning, guys.
Hi, Mayu.
I had Justin was just texting me, asking me the agenda, Matt. I just told him I was trying to call him, but then my earphones were not coordinating, so I've just sent him a text. Have you got his slides there, Matt, or?
Just 1 second. I think he's done some. Let me just grab him. Yep.
That's all right. No stress. We'll give you screen sharing rights if Oliver hasn't done so already. So we're just after 9 now. Is Paducci online yet? No.
Morning, Jun Xiang. Welcome.
I will be kicking off in a minute or two. Well, a few minutes, perhaps. By 5 past. We'll start by 5 past, I think. Are you there, Oliver?
Yes, I am.
So have Matt or Justin got screen sharing rights?
Yes, they are now both co-hosts, so you can screen share.
And Paducci as well, or she's not on yet?
She's not on yet.
Okay.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, good morning.
Morning, Justin. Hi.
Hi.
Slightly echoish, but still hearing you fine.
Okay, great, thank you.
We got matching t-shirts, Justin?
We do, almost.
Yeah, I had to squeeze into this one, I can tell you. Last year they only had small available, so it's a bit of a toughie.
But I see you got a big logo. Look, my logo is small, your logo is big.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's quite good because it sits on the stomach. I don't know that I should emphasize that part, but anyway.
This one is from Langley, so I don't know. Maybe there's different versions wherever you get it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, actually, I can't remember if I bought this at Kennedy Center when I was there. Because the team in the first year we ran this, we had a team that went to the global finals, and they won one of the categories, and because of that, we got tickets. You had to get your own airfare and everything, obviously, to get there. But I went with 2 young guys. One was in NS at the time, and his brother. So we had a couple of days at Kennedy, which was kind of pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, cool. Oh, very good. So our running order for today is we have is it Paducci? So Paducci is presenting first.
Yeah,
She's online now.
Oh, sorry.
She is. Hi, Paducci. You can use
Hi, hello.
To see each other.
Hi, Paducci.
Hey. Hello.
Yeah, this is all sort of relaxed family and friends, and
okay.
So yeah, well, actually, we may as well just start where we're at. We're at 9:05, thereabouts, 9:04. Okay, well, it's good to see everybody for the NASA SpaceApps Challenge Singapore 2020. So this is if you just want to roll the slide, I think, Oliver. Yeah. So those that don't know me, most of you on the call do know me by now. I'm Adam Lyle, founder of Padang & Co. And with Badushi, who's also on the call, we have been running this for the last four years. So it's great fun to be sort of back here again. Just click through the slides, Oliver. I don't know. I don't think I can do it, can I? Just go through. So yeah, so this is the second time we're doing it this year, because earlier in the year we did the COVID-19 challenge. So that was also a virtual one, but this is the first time that the full SpaceApps has been done virtually, obviously again because of COVID. I don't have updated numbers of how many people around the world are joining this weekend. Of course, we're one of the first cities to kick off. Folks in New Zealand would have been the earliest. All our cousins are still waiting to get going tomorrow morning, their time in Europe and the US, but we're ready to go. So the structure for today, I'll come back to that a little bit later. Those that are just tuning in want to know what's going on, you obviously can go to the site and you'll see all about the challenges. Not going to go too much into the challenges now. There are 6 broad categories, and under each of those categories, there are a number of specific challenges. The overall theme this year is about taking action. So get into your challenge and see how you can actually take action. And then we are going to introduce the fact that, that's right, this overall is that it's very broad. And that's the great thing, I think, about the SpaceApps challenge every year, that it is very inclusive. And so we've got specific challenges that are catered to youth, but anybody can participate in those. There's a particular one around sustainability in there. And art, on the road to Mars, Artemis. There's a great opportunity for those that perhaps say, listen, I can't code, but I've got an idea around music. I want to draw a picture. There's lots of opportunities to express yourself in this challenge, which I think makes it so exciting. And it also gets down to real issues as well. Sometimes you perhaps don't think about with NASA looking at issues around inequality and what we can do to drive unity. As we all know, we're facing a lot of issues at the moment on many different levels. So it's great to see NASA stepping up and having challenges connecting in this area, and also being very current. I know Badushi in California is right there. Experiencing the fires. I was experiencing it earlier in Australia this year. So these are really topical issues. And again, how NASA can play a role very much in our daily lives with many of the issues facing us all. And the great thing about NASA is they say, listen, we've given you lots of challenges, but if you can't find one there that you like, you can invent your own challenge. So there literally is something for everyone. So with that, I would like to hand over to Dr. Badushi Bhattacharya, who is the CEO and co-founder of Astropreneurs Hub. Badushi and I go back some years. We shared a co-working space about, I don't know, 5 years ago now, most probably it was, 5 or 6. Yeah. So we've been working on a whole range of different space activities over the years. I think what's exciting is we're seeing more and more people interested each year. And a little bit later, we're going to hear from Justin Baird, who heads DHL's Innovation Center here in Singapore, talking about space logistics. And there's a real business that's coming along, I think. So I think that's particularly exciting. Badushi has a very long career in space, both at NASA and commercial, and today also spreads the word globally when she's allowed to get on a plane, driving space education around the world. So over to you, Badushi, or good morning to you in California. Or good evening, sorry, I'm morning here.
Good evening, yep. Yes, hi. Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So I have some slides, so I can either share the screen or I sent those to you guys. Which would you prefer?
I think if you share the screen, then you're in control, if that's okay.
Okay, let me do that. And then I have to find, there we are, okay. I'm gonna share this particular screen. So you should right now see a Singaporean flag with a bunch of astronauts on Mars. Do you see that?
That's right, yep, very clear.
Okay. So I'm just going to run through this slideshow quickly here. So I'm really glad to see we still have people participating, even though this is the second time that NASA is doing a SpaceApps challenge this year. This stuff is really important. And what I see is the fact that these are being done multiple times a year shows that there's a lot of global interest in the sector. And the space logistics talk sounds really cool. I'd love to know more about that. But we're moving very quickly from a, wow, space is amazing, space is cool, to I really need space in my life to run on a daily basis. And, you know, if you've ever heard me talk before, my usual example is I hold up my phone and I point out that your phone connects with satellites constantly to get location information so that you can use all the many apps that we all really rather depend on today. So I showed this on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday your time. I get the time zones mixed up, sorry.
Yep.
But I showed this when, just to give you a sense of how much activity is going on in space. A bunch of students from Singapore had a payload that was delivered to astronauts back in this is from 2017. We've been doing it every year since, students from Singapore as well as Australia. And on the bottom left there, whoa, what just happened? In the bottom left, what I wanted you to see.
You got to advance the slide, I think, Fiduci.
Okay, where are you? What do you guys see right now?
Yep. It's working. We're seeing it now.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so on the bottom left there is a streak. The SpaceX Dragon capsule has just left the space shuttle. This is the arm that released it, and it's flying back to Earth. And these are students ages 15 to 18 that were doing these experiments, which is so cool. This is the Earth's atmosphere, this beautiful rainbow that you.
Oh. It's froze. Oh dear. Oops. We've lost Fiduci, but no doubt she'll be back.
She's reappeared, but we can't hear her now.
Right. Yeah, she's forgotten she's on mute. You're on mute, Fiduci. Can you unmute her, Oliver?
Okay, I don't know how.
Maybe she's doing it. You're back, Fiduci.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to touch it again. I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
Well,
we can try to load them up for you if you want.
Yeah.
That might be easier. Maybe it's a bandwidth issue. So you've got the slides, yeah?
Yeah, here they are. So if you just sort of say,
all right, so while they're working that out,
there you go. They're up.
Okay. Yeah.
All good.
All right, I'm going to turn off my video here in that case, so that we get a little bit better connection on the voice, since you don't need my video. Okay, so this should be a little bit more reliable. So, okay, so we did discuss this particular slide. And so the point here is that everybody has access to space now in a way we didn't before. Could I have the next slide, please?
All about
so
you.
As Adam said, I've been. Okay.
Go ahead.
So as Adam said, I've been in the sector for a long time. I did my PhD in space physics. You can get a lot of this information in LinkedIn if you want. But I have worked on everything from the Hubble Space Telescope to the Mars programs. And I really see the benefits directly on a daily basis to people from space, right? Not just the cell phones, not just the fact that I got a paycheck from NASA and was able to put my kids through college, but I see very direct impact. That's why I started Astro Hub, and I do a lot of public speaking to just get out the message. And this SpaceApps Challenge is one of the key ways that we really do try to connect with Singapore to make sure people who have interest and some level of exposure to the sector come in and we can teach them even more. So next slide. All right, so you should be interested in space because it's a regular part of your life through GPS. And from space, we can do a lot of things like monitoring processes on Earth, whether they're natural or made by humans, and you can observe much larger swaths of the earth to monitor changes. And particularly in this era of superstorms, this is really important. And you can't do this from the earth, you have to be able to do this from space. And we talk a lot about space mining and abundant resources, because everything that the earth is made of is from the pristine early solar system, and asteroids similarly were made from the same material. So what you mine on earth, you can actually mine in space, and there you wouldn't have this huge environmental impact. So we already go to Mars, we already dig around on Mars to do research. So somebody just has to be able to put all this technology together and make it commercializable, and maybe one of you guys will come up with that idea. Now, I don't know if you heard today, but the illustrious president of the US is in the hospital with COVID. He's got, he's not doing well, but that brings up the topic of pharmaceuticals. And there are certain kinds of drugs that you can design on a computer but cannot build on the earth that can uniquely be built in outer space. So this is another interesting area that's being developed actively. And then of course, in the post-COVID global economy, there's going to be a lot of use of space data for the purpose of space logistics, as you'll probably learn a little bit more later, and also for food security. Next slide, please. So we've gone from the billions of dollars, next slide. So we've gone from billions of dollars. I'm just going to start talking to startups here. And this right now, we have, it is 9:16 right now for you in about half an hour at 09:43 SGT. Just go to YouTube. You can see the link here. You can watch a SpaceX live launch. They're going to be launching a GPS satellite actually. So you can go ahead and have that on your screen in the background as you're doing your work. And this is something I often do. I just love watching launches, and we've got all sorts of launches coming up just in the next few days. So next slide, please. If you don't follow the sector closely, then you might be surprised to see what we actually have on the plate at different launch pads around the world for this particular month. So there's a slide coming up.
I think you had a whack there.
Okay, yeah, this is, I don't know if you guys can see this, it's a bit small, but if you go to a website called spaceflightnow.com, launch-schedule, as you see on the bottom, you'll get a list of all of the upcoming launches globally. So yeah, thanks for the link there. You can see this weekend, we've got several different launches already from the Antares and also from Falcon 9. And then what I'd like to point out on the right-hand column is we have a number of Indian Space Agency launches coming up too. They've got a large rocket, the GSLV, they've got their workhorse, the PSLV, and we don't have a lot of time here now, but if you are interested in any of this stuff, please do feel free to go ahead and look online. There's just a wealth of information out there, and sometimes it can be a bit daunting that there's so much out there, and that's part of the reason that we do these kinds of things, so we can sort of channel you in a particular direction so that you don't just get overwhelmed by just the vast amount of global information you can get by Googling. So next slide, please. The sectors that actually are active in space right now include Earth observations, and I'm not going to read all of these to you guys right now, but you can go back and have a look at these later, of everything from security and defense to medical research, which we mentioned earlier. And again, you can go and Google or just look up any of these, and there's special reports that have been put out by everybody from the United Nations to various space startups that talk about actual spacecraft and applications that benefit each and every one of these sectors and the commercial applications thereof. Next slide. So the space sector is predicted to be worth $3 trillion by the year 2040, that's US dollars. And what we really want to do is think about how you're going to contribute, because the big thing here is we are moving from a proof of technology kind of a mindset, kind of a sector, to actually consumer demands for products and services. And you know, if you had told me back when I worked on the Hubble, for instance, I was working on the latest and greatest equipment, you know, in the world, but we still had paper maps. If you told me back then that my paper map that was, you know, the size of my dashboard in the car would be replaced by a map the size of my hand on my phone, I would have said, what use have I got for that? I don't think that anyone's going to buy it. And now I haven't owned paper maps in a couple decades, right? So we've got this application of space technology, miniaturization of tech, microprocessors, that's become so integrated into our lives. So that's just one easy example of thinking about how things were and how cell phones, mobile phones, and all their applications were absolutely unimaginable. But look, if you're working in business and marketing or media or legal, or you have a background in finance, there are a number of things that you can do to help us grow the ecosystem. You don't have to go get a master's degree in engineering or science. Can I get the next slide, please? But these are some of the other areas you can go into. And the point here is you already have interests, you already have skills. And what we want you to do is think about applying those to space by just getting an overview of what the sector is about. You know, like people who work in finance in, say, the medical research sector, they don't need to become medical doctors to be able to do it. They just kind of have to have a general sense. And this is, you know, part of the reason that we're having this hackathon, is to give you that sense. So this slide shows you the number of startups around the world. You can see Singapore and US, that's where our offices are. I had just picked some of these because the map was so busy. There were about 1,800 startups back in May. That number fluctuates pretty regularly, but I'm pretty sure we're going to reach about 2,500 in the next 3 to 5 years. And the sectors where people are focusing on space are all across the board. You can see everything from additive manufacturing, where people are 3D printing rockets, the whole thing, to agriculture, all the way down to things that you might expect, like weather and even tourism. So tourism is one of my favorites because I told my husband I'm taking him to outer space for our 50th wedding anniversary, which is in 21 years. And, you know, I think it's real. I think it's really going to happen. We went to Bali for our 25th, I should say. And so I told him, you know, 25 years from now, 50 years, we're going to be going into outer space. We'll see what happens. All right, next slide, please. So I want to run through the next couple of slides very quickly because I've included these in my YouTube presentation that I gave on Tuesday, which you can go and have a look at if you want. But you can use satellite-based imagery to get large swaths of images, right? So we talk about food security and natural disasters and construction. And then we also have a very exciting set of satellites that are being launched to provide space-based internet all over the world. And for people in remote locations who previously have not had any sort of connectivity, this is going to be huge. It's going to affect their lives in innumerable ways. So next slide. And so we can just go through these very quickly. You can look at them later. So next slide, please. Next. All right, so I think that, I don't know, Adam, if you were going to mention some of this, but the outcomes for the hackathon in previous years have included people working in a startup from the 2014 team, and a winner from 2016 winners have jobs with NASA. And then of course the Singapore team, one of the Singapore teams in 2017, the first time we ever did the SpaceApps challenge, we had a global winning team, and Adam actually got to go to the launch. There were 25 participants worldwide, but we actually had a team from Singapore for the first time ever win, which really gives you a sense of the level of talent that we actually have in Singapore. Now, this is a really important place, I think, for that reason, to work at growing the space sector. So just to go back up to the top of the slide, I don't want to talk about the data in detail here, but this is a hackathon where they have data sets. Actually, NASA scientists have gone through and picked out data for you. European Space Agency, the Japanese Space Agency, the Canadian Space Agency, all of these people, all of these government agencies have designated people to go in and pick out appropriate data sets for you to be able to access, for you to be able to work with, so that you can go and try to address some of these challenges. I think this is really an amazing thing. No scientist would pass up on an opportunity like this, because you know these data sets are all over the place, and having somebody curate it and point you in the right direction if you're interested in a certain kind of issue, I think this is fantastic. And I might suggest, if you are interested in doing some kind of a space startup, that you take note of where the data are and what they are all about. So just in general terms, so that you can go back in later and say, oh, I want to look at, you know, the Terra mission at such and such a data set, because I know those will be valuable for somebody who wants to purchase information on, you know, product X. All right, so next slide, please. So this, in fact, is my slide of inspiration. And I, you know, I'd say 1 out of every 10 talks I do, somebody actually comes and asks me whether Singapore has traveled to Mars, and the answer is no, humans have not been there. This is my attempt at Photoshop, but the whole point here is I want you guys to think big, right? I really want you to think about Mars. I want you to think of all of this as a reality because it's coming. You know, I've been in the sector not long enough to know this is coming. And if I didn't believe in this, I would be doing something else. I would go back and work for NASA, but I really think this is coming. And the only way we're going to get there is if we get everybody on board with all kinds of interests and backgrounds so that we can, you know, together create a global space workforce. So next slide. All right, so that's it. If you do want to look at the slides that I put up on the YouTube channel from Tuesday, you can get this information if you don't jot it down right now. Yep. If you're interested in working on the experiments, like the ones I showed in that first slide, you know, the one with the Earth, with the rainbow and the spacecraft, you should go ahead and contact me and we can talk about that. And I'm always happy to answer questions if you want to know more about space. And finally, we've got that launch coming up in about 20 minutes. I've been talking here, so I don't know if it's still a go, but I would suggest going and putting that in your background because those things are always super fun to watch. And I really do wish you guys the best with this hackathon. It's some really cool problems, and I really look forward to seeing some of the solutions that you come up with. So thanks for your time, and have a good day.
Thanks, Vidushi, and certainly we'll be funneling any relevant questions to you and over the weekend, as we've got open channels for people to talk with, and we'll see if we can include you in some of those. So now, just continuing this sort of theme of opportunities in space, I'm going to hand the floor to Justin Baird. Justin, I've known for a long time in different roles, and we've just fortunately reconnected this past week. Justin's got a distinguished career in lots of different sort of technology-related roles in major companies like Google and Accenture. He's run design studios, a guy that's sort of very interested in tech, not just because of what tech can do, but the impact and different ways to use tech in very innovative ways. He's actually a holder of 2 patents and has 4 patents pending, I read somewhere. So this is someone who actually puts into practice everything that he can talk about. He's now the head of DHL's Innovation Center here in Singapore. And we were just, DHL, I mean, you're all pretty aware of that color. They just recently, as part of their radar report that they release, I think it's once a year, I'm not sure, there's a section on space logistics, which just goes to show that, you know, here you have a sort of kind of what you might think is a conservative kind of company, but really looking out there and seeing what does space logistics look like for a company like DHL. So, Jason, over to you. Jason, sorry, Justin. Did I say that before? Sorry, Justin.
No worries, Justin. Yes, yeah, no problem. Hi, Adam. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Great, and you guys can see my screen as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great, thank you. I won't take too much of your time, but I did want to really highlight what DHL is doing in this area and talk a little bit about space logistics as we were talking about before. So, you know, it's a pleasure to be a part of this launch and really appreciate the opportunity. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an idea about how DHL is a part of this process, but then also talk about kind of how we approach innovation and the way that we can support startups and scale-ups and all the kind of things that are happening here in Singapore and of course across all of Asia Pacific as well. So when we think about what's happening in the startup space, you know, DHL is a big company. We have, you know, literally over 400,000 employees across the world doing everything from delivering packages to getting things on ships. And, you know, maybe it's not only ships that are on the sea, but there are ships going into the sky now as well. So all types of ships, spaceships, regular ships, all that kind of stuff. But when we think about what's happening in the startup space, there's literally on the order of $30 billion worth of investment happening in startups, and this is specifically in the logistics focused startups, you know, happening over, you know, basically the past decade. And when we think about that, we actually look at, and interesting to see the statistics from before as well, that we identify about 3,000 startups that are actually working in the logistics space at this time. And of course, that does include things from both, let's say, traditional types of logistics all the way through the things that are happening in space as well. So, there's a lot of different people operating here and thinking about kind of what's happening in logistics as well. And from the way that we approach this, we have innovation centers across the globe. We have one based here in Singapore that we are a part of. We have one based in Germany, which is kind of the main headquarters of DHL, and as well as in Chicago. And what we believe in is being close to the technology, so being able to bring clients and customers to be able to use these types of new technologies and understand what they can do for them, bringing customers close to that, and then being close to operations about being practical about how these things are actually impacting the world around us as well. And so all of those things are very key to innovation. And innovation to us, we really consider innovation, the definition of that being change that adds value. And change that adds value, it doesn't have to be blockchain, it doesn't have to be some brand new thing. It can all be about improving something, improving the experience, making things better. And as I've seen kind of in the SpaceApps challenge, there's a lot of things that are actually focused on that, not just about technology, but what are the things that we can do to improve even an astronaut's kind of conditions and experience that they're going to have when they're isolated and by themselves for long distance travel to Mars or even the moon. So, when we think about innovation, we're looking at this and thinking of all of the different aspects and different projects. And, we know in innovation, even a 10% success rate is actually really great in terms of being able to do these types of experiments and then move things forward. So we are in the process of supporting, lots of different experiments, lots of different startups, and making those things happen across Asia Pacific from here in Singapore. So one of the things that we do on not an annual basis, but every 2 years, we look at what our trend radar is. This was just actually launched in the past couple of weeks, our new 5th edition. And I was just going to highlight a couple of things that we've put new in our trend radar, which include quantum computing over on the far right-hand side and space logistics. So we do see both of these things being relevant to the logistics industry. We place this on the radar when we see this happening within the next 5 to 10 years. Human beings are not very good at predicting things that happen at an exponential rate. So while we see things like space logistics here on the left being relevant in the next 5 to 10 years, I would really say that that's going to be relevant in the next 4 to 5 years, given that the Artemis project is going to have lots of logistics happening in space at the gateway, and that's planned to be happening in the next 4 years, where we're going to have manned missions to the moon on a regular basis. So when it comes to space logistics, actually what we see in terms of this space, in terms of what's happening in this industry is, this is emerging. There's a lot of conditions that happen in terms of, safe transportation and storage. Actually, when you think about the things that are happening with COVID, where we have to be able to do transportation, maybe the transportation for such a serum, which is going to help us prevent COVID in the future. Those things might need refrigeration. They might need specific temperature conditions in logistics and transportation. Very similar type of things happening in space logistics. But the key opportunities we see there is that it's a new and expanding logistics market. There's already private operations. There's already SpaceX literally taking components of rocket ships into space for NASA. All these different types of things are opening new technologies and business models. In space, we see both the kind of opportunity, both from kind of, let's say, the physical goods, literally warehouses in space. It's something that maybe not many people have thought of, but we literally do need to have warehouses in space. That's going to include things like food rations, equipment, all the different kind of components to make these things happen, and to be able to have that kind of on-demand replacement that we're kind of used to here on planet Earth. That's going to be necessary when we've got multiple astronauts and multiple teams in space at the same time. So these things are literally happening today. And then also there's this opportunity to really create, let's say, the warehouse of the future. When we think of space logistics, we've got a whole new world, a whole new way of designing things, bringing things to market. Those type of opportunities, I mean, it'll probably be a little while before we have convenience stores in space that astronauts can walk up to and, get a drink or something, but probably not far off from the actual necessities of life being able to make those type of things happen. So they might not have the all of the drinks that we can get at a local 7-Eleven, but they certainly need those type of things to sustain life in space. So one of the interesting things, of course, is the extreme temperatures, zero gravity. There are companies like Made in Space that are now actually bringing the first manufacturing capabilities to space. That's a group out of the US that has now received funding from NASA to be able to create the first manufacturing sites that are operating in microgravity. So very interesting to see those things coming to life as well. And then also kind of the vehicle dimensions and weight constraints. Certainly the weight constraints make a big difference in terms of what's happening there. So, we see certainly key players that we're already working with include SpaceX and another company called Deorbit. These are key players that are actually already operating in this area and that we're supporting from our let's say terrestrial logistics opportunities to support that business as well. So with our trend radar, we really do look across the entire industry. We look at the things that are impacting the industry as a whole, and we look at that as really important aspects of what we do for the future decades to come. And that's kind of the way that we approach these types of things. And we bring, I guess, basically our entire trend research piece comes from the trend radar, moving through the reports, the innovation center work that we do, and then we drive proof of concepts and make this move into kind of scaling operations from there as well. Anyhow, so I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. We're very happy to be a part of what's happening with this hackathon, and we look forward to seeing some really great ideas. So thanks again, Adam, for the opportunity. And Adam, you are muted.
I am. I don't know that. I'm back. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I do think it's exciting. Badusha was painting the big picture of $3 trillion business in the years to come, the number of startups out there, and you guys obviously picking on the trend in space logistics. And yeah, the whole concept of warehouses in the sky makes perfect sense. So maybe when Badusha's having that anniversary, she might be able to go to a convenience store up there. Who knows, or at least get some kit. Okay, thank you for joining us, and we'll tic-tac over the course of the weekend and keep you involved and catch up soon. So now, folks, I'll just quickly go into a little bit of what's happening over today and tomorrow. The timetable just coming up on the screen for today. We're obviously in the kickoff now. We're just running a few minutes behind. We'll be opening the open channel. You can certainly, there's the chat box down below. If you've got any questions here now, you can key in there, but we've got a Google chat opening up at 10 o'clock, where myself and colleagues will be there for the 2 hours till noon, and then we'll come back at 4 o'clock. But in the meantime, you can also be using some of the other tools to get in touch with us. And then we'll be sort of formally signing off at the end of the day, but obviously you all can just keep on working at your own pace. And then for tomorrow, day 2, similar kind of routine. We'll open the chat channel again at 10 o'clock and run for 2 hours, and likewise in the afternoon. We'll come back online for we're closing Zoom out at 5:30, and again we'll switch off at 6 o'clock and get on with the Sunday evenings. And just a reminder that your submissions need to be made by 11:59, just before midnight tomorrow night, Sunday. And we'll go into a second what you need to submit. Now, there's a range of different tools that you can access. All of these details they're either in the chat, and they were in the email that was sent to you all. As I say, we'll be online twice a day in Google Meets. We've got the Zoom here now. And you've got our email addresses, and then there's Space Chat platform, which is a global platform that which is Rocket Chat, but being renamed Space Chat for this weekend, and that's administered by the NASA team. And there's a whole range of subject matter experts from around the globe in there that you can connect with. And there's some other support activities that you can get all the details on some of these offers, some of the software that's being provided by the NASA partners. All of that's accessible on the links in the email and on the website. Just quick on the judges, Badushi, who you saw before, myself and Zip will be judging the entries and the process for the entries. Then after we've gone through, we put forward global nominees that then go into the global finals, and we will see what happens. There's a number of categories that we can people can be eligible for. So certainly encourage you, once you've done your work over the weekend, please make your submissions by 11:59 tomorrow night. And in your submission, so this is what you need to do. You've got to make the submission on the NASA SpaceApps platform, and you do a video pitch using a YouTube link. And then we'll let you know by the 12th of October if we have put you forward. So the judging, I'm not going to read that. There's four criteria: impact, creativity, validity, and relevance, and they're equally weighted around fairly self-explanatory. You know, is there real impact? Is it particularly creative? You know, and how valid is the solution? Now, we're not all going to be able to crack the atom over the weekend, but we're going to have a good shot at it. And is the particular response that you've got, you know, relevant to the challenge? So fairly similar criteria that you would see in other hackathons if you participated in others. And with that, yeah, let's just get to any questions you have here and now. If you want to put them into the chat box down below. Are there any questions coming up, guys? Zip or Oliver, have you seen some questions?
No questions so far. Oh, what are
the prizes? Laurent, the prizes. In this COVID challenged world, the prizes are the ability to get tickets to a launch. So if you are a global winner, i.e. you're a winner from here locally in Singapore, then we put you forward to the global finals and you win the global, you get a number of tickets. So if there are 3 members in your team, you get 3 tickets to attend a launch at the Kennedy Space Center. It's just the ticket to the Kennedy Space Center launch, no airline tickets, no accommodation. So this year we were more challenged. Normally we have a few small prizes, but typically the NASA SpaceApps challenges is not heavy on prizes. It's more the opportunity to be involved and the chance to get tickets to a launch. And of course, there's the prize of actually doing something and, you know, getting involved. Thanks for that, Lauren.
Lauren wants NASA t-shirts.
What size are you? I might have one. NASA, it might be pretty large. So if you're a size small, I think I might have a spare size small. We'll see how we go. Well, the first time we did this, yes, it was 17. A particular solution was testing radiation levels on, you know, people, air crew, and what the issue was in terms of how safe it was to be up in relative space for a continued period of time. And so that they had a particular application and studied the data. And I think from memory, Zip, it came up that essentially it was pretty safe, was what it was about. And did they get funding? No, they didn't take it forward. It was a solution to a particular problem about safety of space travel, but it wasn't necessarily an idea that was going to be you know, commercialized. I think it's something that would be baked into other activities that people might want to be aware of if you're working in the industry, but not necessarily the basis of a startup of its its own. But it was interesting research, and it was a team made up of someone who was what's the big film studio here, and data scientist, and
Lucasfilm.
sorry,
Lucasfilm.
Lucasfilm. That's right. Yeah. And he's now actually at Dell. So that was a pretty cool team. And the two young guys, one was in NS at the time, and the other one was in working in design thinking. So cool team. Thanks for that, Justin. So we'll be opening up for more questions in the Google chat in sort of 15 minutes or so. Now that launch that Badushi was talking about should be sort of lifting off about now, if it hasn't already. So if there are no more questions, come into the chat and we can talk further. I'll be around for the next couple of hours with Zip. So please, any ideas you've got, if you've got any challenges, you're not sure about something, we will do our best to assist you in whatever way we can. But for now, have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch over the course. But as I say, you can reach out at any time through the chat channels or through the emails, and we can even be back to you on WhatsApp or phone or whatever you need. Alrighty, I'll sign off now. Thank you all for your participation. Do we need anything else? No, I think that's all. If everybody can see that, those that want more, I'll see you in about 15 minutes time. Till then, happy hacking. Bye for now.